Good evening. Welcome to Will and Jeff's top five. So this is something Will and I decided to try during this quarantine. We're gonna talk about our top five from various categories, usually of movies, but occasionally we might steer into some other things. Tonight we're gonna start with our top five westerns. That's a genre that we both like because I raised him right, and this, I think, will get a lot of discussion going. So if you're watching this and you want to list your favorites or disagree with any of ours, we'd love to hear what you have to say. So, you got anything to say before we start?
Yeah, well, only correct opinions are allowed in the, discussions.
Okay. You've been warned.
Mm-hmm.
So,
This
okay.
is not a free speech.
That's right. Top five westerns. Let me just start by saying I grew up on these kinds of movies. My dad was a big lover of westerns. So growing up, I watched a lot of them. And then there have been a lot of good ones that have been made since I've been an adult. And so it's hard to come up with just five. I'll just list five or six that aren't on my list. Unforgiven, Tombstone, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, Red River, The Magnificent Seven. The list goes on and on. But let me start with my number five, and we'll go back and forth. Will say his number five, and we'll go on down the list. But my number five is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And this is a movie that is a spaghetti western, so it's a little frustrating to watch if you've never seen it before, because the three lead characters are the only actors in the movie who actually speak English. The rest of them are dubbed, and it's very obvious they're dubbed, and that takes a little getting used to. But the three lead characters are amazing. You've got Clint Eastwood at the peak of his game. You've got Eli Wallach as Tuco, who's fantastic. And then Lee Van Cleef as Angel Eyes. And you've got those great showdowns at various points in the movie and some of the greatest movie music ever. So my number five is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Will?
All right, so my number five was 310 to Yuma.
Okay.
It's a pretty... I'd say it's not a very standard Western movie because, normally it's like there's an outlaw here or some of them engines out and about, and, the...
Non-PC term. Go ahead.
Yeah. Don't cancel me. and there's got to be like a hero who goes in and, takes him out in a gunslinger. But in this one, it's more that they're just trying to, get this outlaw to a different town, and it's very intense.
Mm-hmm.
And just in general, well done. You got Russell Crowe in it.
Mm-hmm.
And, isn't Christian Bale in there?
Christian Bale,
okay.
yeah.
I was just making sure I didn't forget that,
Very
and I wasn't
good.
like getting confused with something else.
Yeah, two great actors.
Mm-hmm.
That's a remake. Did you know they made one in the 50s?
I actually didn't.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The original is a little different. The ending is very different, but I agree with you. The 310 to Yuma is a great choice.
Mm-hmm. I sure hope that one wasn't better than the new one, because then that would make my list really awkward.
No, it's fine.
All
It's
right,
fine.
good.
Number four for me is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So again, not a standard Western. Western purists probably don't like it because it's made in the 70s, so it's very sarcastic. But that's one of the things I love about it. Paul Newman, Robert Redford, two great actors, and the lines are just incredible. The dialogue, it's hilarious at times. It's very serious at times. I just think it's a ton of fun. So, how about you?
Well,
number four?
Thank you, Flatnose. I'm actually wishing I had put Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid on my list because I had forgotten about that one. But anyway, going off my now incorrect list, number four would be Unforgiven.
Oh,
That's a pretty depressing
Will
Western.
goes dark.
The
Okay.
depressy Westy.
Yep.
It's yeah, I think it's, once again, it's different in how it's a lot darker than most other Western movies, and it doesn't really have the sort of happy ending.
No.
But it's also a well-told story. Like, they don't really romanticize the whole killing aspect or anything, or
No, for
anything
sure.
like that.
Yeah, I do love that movie. Now, just if you've never seen it, it's not family friendly at all. Very violent, very, very dark. It's kind of it kind of goes the opposite direction of most westerns, where you have the stone cold killer who is redeemed in some westerns. Well, this one is much darker. And I think Will's right. It doesn't glorify violence, where some of your classic westerns make it look kind of fun to get into shootouts.
Yeah,
This one,
I want to shoot men.
yeah, this one you can see that the Wild West was a grim place, and from a theological standpoint, it really shows the depravity of human beings and how dark we can be when we don't have God in our lives. But yeah, good choice, Will. Number 4.
It shows that we've all got it coming, kid.
We've all got it coming, kid. My favorite line from the movie.
I hope this doesn't just turn into me quoting movies.
There's worse things.
If people haven't seen it, then this won't make sense at all.
No,
my whole bit.
Not at all. Number 3 for me is another remake, and that is True Grit, the 2010 version. And I remember when True Grit, this version was coming out. I grew up, of course, watching John Wayne movies, and I heard that they were remaking that, and that Jeff Bridges was going to play the part that John Wayne originally played. And I thought, what a terrible idea! This is going to be awful. But we went to see the movie. Actually, my dad saw it first, and he said, I think it's actually better than the original. So that sold me, and he was right. As good as the John Wayne original was, this one is better. The Coen brothers, some of my favorite movie makers, they're the ones behind it, and Jeff Bridges does a great job, actually. Matt Damon, I think it goes out without saying, he's a better actor than Glenn Campbell could have been, as good a singer as Glenn Campbell was. It's so quotable, it's intense. Even if you've seen the original, the second one is well worth seeing because they bring in some new elements that just make it a lot more interesting, a lot more funny, but also pretty gripping. So that's my number 3, True Grit.
It did surprise me whenever I watched the original because normally the whole stereotype is the original is way better than the remake. But with this one, after I watched the remake a bunch and then I watched the original, I was like, yeah, the remake's better. And the fact that even Bebo agreed.
Yeah, yeah. Bebo's what we call my dad. Yes. Yeah. So, okay, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is The Searchers. Another John Wayne classic.
Yep.
That one.
That's further down on my list. We'll get to it.
That one, what I really like is that it feels like a journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just one a cool little event that happened. It's like it's a long journey. You see the characters mature and things happen and stuff.
Yeah, it goes over years.
Yeah, it's and how once again this one is also not very morally simple, because John Wayne at the end, no spoilers.
Yeah. Be careful.
Well, I hope that wasn't too big.
Safe to say he's not your standard John Wayne hero.
Yeah, he's not your standard
there are times
everything
when you're
he does.
kind of rooting against him because he gets kind of dark in his motives.
I think he was playing himself in that movie from the rumors.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely a movie. I promise I'm not just choosing movies because they're dark. I'm not weird.
No.
I like a good lighthearted movie.
We'll get to comedies on another episode, right?
Eventually.
Yeah. So my number 2 is Lonesome Dove, which I know. It never came out in theaters. It was a TV miniseries from the 90s.
Can that really count, Dad?
It counts. It's Western. I think it's 6 hours long. And yeah, even though it came on TV, and so some of the production values maybe don't stack up, but you got 2 of the great characters in Call and Gus and Call, right? Robert Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones, and fantastic dialogue, great story. I've seen it so many times, and it's a great saga. Larry McMurtry wrote the book that it was based on. Actually, decades earlier, they talked about making a movie version with John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart, but it never happened. And he based it on a real life story in West Texas, the good night loving cattle drive. So really great movie that I can watch again and again. Lonesome Dove.
Yeah, I liked Lonesome Dove a lot as well.
Okay, family warning there. There is a character. One of the lead characters is a prostitute, and so there is dialogue about what she does for a living. Can we just leave it at that? So just be forewarned.
I was deciding whether or not I should say it the way they do.
You're not going to say it. Nope.
No son of yours.
Nope, no son of mine.
All right. So my number 2 is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Okay.
That one, fantastic music.
Yep.
Clint Eastwood's in it.
Mm-hmm.
You got Tuco is an amazing one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, once again, it's also just not exactly different in terms of, like, it being really dark and moving, but more in that, the plot's just not a typical Western one.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it, like, revolves around these three characters, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and whatnot, and also quotable.
Very.
Mm-hmm.
And did you know, I may have told you this, Eli Wallach, who plays Tuco, was Jewish?
I didn't, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, didn't he play in Fiddler on the Roof?
No, he's in
okay.
Magnificent Seven. That's what you're looking at. He's the bad guy in that also. So he got stereotyped playing these Mexican bandits, but he was Jewish.
Yeah,
so.
wrong stereotyping there, guys.
All right, so my number one was Will's number three, and that's The Searchers. And to me, it blows every other Western out of the water. It's number one by far in my book. As Will said, great story. Based on a true story of Cynthia Ann Parker being abducted by the Comanches in 1836. That story turned out way different. They did find Cynthia Ann Parker in the real life story, but she didn't want to come home. In this story, it's Natalie Wood who is abducted, and John Wayne and I forget the actor's name, Jeffrey Hunter, chased after this girl for years and years. And the interesting thing about it, I mean, it's a beautiful movie, the way it's shot, great lines, by the way, another trivia note. Buddy Holly's song, That'll Be the Day, comes from this movie, because that's a line John Wayne says over and over again, that'll be the day.
That'll be the day.
There you go. And the other thing to note is, as Will said, John Wayne's character gets a little darker than usual. So this is a movie that's actually about, in a way, it's about racism, because John Wayne's character hates Indians in the movie. And that becomes a major plot point. When he finds little Debbie, is he going to actually rescue her or kill her because she's become part of the Native American tribe? And so it's very much a moral conflict kind of movie. But very, very well done. And it's one of those movies that you watch multiple times and you see new things. You see new layers. Like somebody pointed out to me, I've seen this movie so many times, somebody pointed out to me early in the movie, you see Debbie go out to hide from the Comanches by her grandmother's grave, and the gravestone says that she was killed by Comanches. And so that explains why John Wayne hates the Comanches so much. Anyway, if you've never seen it, make time to do it. It'll make a Western lover out of you if you aren't one already. All right, that's my number one.
All right, so my number one, this is my redemption for picking all the, like, really dark and, non-typical Western movies. My number one is The Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
You got that, fantastic score, the little da-na-na-na,
Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-na-na-na. There you go.
And, you've got, classic little conflict there that's been remade into A Bug's Life.
There you go.
And you've got, like, just some fantastic shootouts, like... Even to this day, it's fun to just watch them just absolutely take out some bandits. Go all...
So the storyline is the little Mexican village, and they're being dominated by this group of bandits, and they hire these seven gunfighters to defend them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great cast.
Mm-hmm.
Steve McQueen, Yul Brynner, Charles Bronson, and the list goes on. Yeah, that's a really entertaining movie. It was hard for me not to include that in my top five. And I agree. If Good, the Bad, and the Ugly doesn't have the best theme, then Magnificent Seven does out of all the Westerns. So, good choice.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a very fun one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you get to watch them, like, sort of train up the seven.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, like, aren't really certain about this. Others are more certain, whatnot.
And just to be clear, you're talking about the original, right?
Yeah, the new one, it's kind of...
It was entertaining.
It's dumb fun.
It's dumb fun. That's a good definition. Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah. The original, though, is much more... I don't know how to put it, but, like, you feel like you're getting something out of it.
It's an epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Good movie. Apparently, they made a sequel the Seven or the Return of the Seven, but I've never seen it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it's very good.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, anything else?
I have an honorable mention.
Oh, good. Let's hear
That
it.
goes to Open Range's ending fight scene.
Oh yeah.
That one.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, subversive, action-packed, explosive.
I love it. That's a
Mhm.
great movie.
Yes.
Tombstone.
Oh yeah.
Tombstone was hard to keep off the list.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great lines there. Any others to mention?
Let me think. Can't think of any right now.
I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
So, thanks for watching. If you have any, if you want to give us your own top 5, post it in the comments. If you have any arguments with anything we said, that's great. But of course, if we think you're wrong, we'll just delete your comment. So that's the way we roll.
Yeah.
But thanks for watching. We'll come up with another top 5 later if we like what we did here. So, oh, one more thing. This week, don't forget it's Easter week. So if you're not already planning to, I just wanted to invite you to watch our live stream of